years of being, living on a campus?
Well, one is aggressive patrol. And I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but we have increased visibility, especially during the hours of darkness. You'll see our vehicles out on campus, well lit, standing as a deterrent. And also that's where the CIP program comes in, the collaborative interactive policing. Because we're going to constantly apprise you of what's going on campus. We're going to let you know what crimes are occurring because we believe in transparency. You can only protect yourself if you have knowledge of what's occurring around you. And we're going to emphasize the fact that you need to call us at the onset of something occurring and to remind you of the services that we provide. Let's look at one service, escorts. If you don't feel comfortable, give us a call and we will provide you with an escort. Now, the best thing about this, if you call communications, and that number is 404-880-8911. I want everyone to put that in their cellular phones right now. And if you're on campus using a university phone, it's 8911. Now, call us. Get us involved early on because we want to stand as a deterrent and give you an escort, provide you with those services. Also, if you feel threatened, we have emergency call boxes throughout the campus that are working. I want to put emphasis on that. That was one of the first things I started working on when I got here. Those call boxes are active now. Activate the call box so that we can get there. Best thing about the call boxes is prior to my administration, those call boxes were landline call boxes, which meant when you activated the box went to the police department dispatch. Now, they're no longer landline, okay? Which means when you activate that box, it activates the radios on my officers, which means that affords us a quicker response time. So we're making some significant advances towards safety here on campus. Aggressive patrol, ensuring that the call boxes are working. We're looking at the installation of new cameras for better visibility for public safety. So, and also getting the students involved, letting them know ways to protect themselves. Let me give you one example. We've had a lot of entering in autos here on campus. Entering an auto means a person will break into your car to steal merchandise. Well, one of the reasons why they do that is because you leave it in plain view. So one of the better ways to protect yourselves is to secure your personal items. We've also had burglaries, residential burglaries in the dorms. They're not robberies, they're burglaries. Robberies is when a person comes up to you with a weapon to take it. Burglary is when they're in your dwelling. And a lot of times we have burglaries because our students aren't locking their doors. So we have to make sure that we maintain vigilance and those small things to help deter crime. So that's where we're going. So if you look at it from a collective setting, if we do all of the above that I mentioned, I think we would significantly reduce crime on Clark Atlanta.
Wow, okay, so you all have it down pat, right?
Well, we're trying to.
Now with you, Chief.
Yes.
A lot of us, we have no idea how, a chief police, how they spend their day. Please share with us a little bit of how your day works.
Wow, it's very demanding. I have quite a few people pulling at me all the time. So normally I get up at around 7, maybe 10 minutes to 7, and I'll turn my television on just to gather my thoughts for about 10 minutes. Get up, prepare for work, leave home about an hour after I get up, which is normally 8. And I'll get on campus at around 8:30 a.m. And normally I'll drive around campus. I'll drive around to see what my officers are doing and to just assess the state of the campus in the morning. And that normally takes about 15 minutes. And I'll actually pull up to the front of my office and sit in my car and finish my coffee for about 10 minutes, just to gather my thoughts, not interrupted. I don't have to answer any calls or any questions at that time. It gives me 10 minutes to just gather my thoughts. Then I go in my office and I check my calendar to see what appointments I have. And I have a to-do list. And I normally check off things that I need to do. But normally my day consists of budgetary issues, making sure that we're fiscally responsible with our spending within the department, strategically planning for emergency procedures, such as the inclement weather situation that we had last week. which there was a lot of preparation and a lot of dialogue with the university leadership, the executive cabinet and the president, et cetera, as well as AU Center, because we also collaborated to make unilateral decisions on the direction of the AU Center. So basically, I'm constantly involved in meetings as it relates to emergency management on campus, as it relates to facilities, as it relates to even student affairs issues with, adjudication, as it relates to students who might have had a setback. I like to call it a setback.
Setback?
Yes.
Now, what is a setback?
A setback would be when they do things that break university policy, of which some can be criminal and some can be just school infractions. So we deal with that as well, because we have to do reports and we have to refer those incidents to student affairs for the in-house adjudication process. Unfortunately, on some occasions, we have to arrest our students. Again, we are a police department, sworn police officers, and we are bound to uphold the laws of the state of Georgia. So we have to be consistent. So when our young men and women have setbacks, we have to try and get them on the right track.
Okay. Now, with you have a very colorful background. The man with a lot of different phases.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what have you accomplished so far from 1983 on up?
Well, of course, I was in the Army. I was active duty Army for 6.5, almost 7 years. After my exit from the Army, I joined the Army National Guard. And I was only out maybe a year and I got reactivated. Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Or Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Went over to Saudi Arabia and actually went behind enemy lines. Had to transport some supplies into Iraq. Went through Kuwait, saw all of the devastation. That was, a rather eye-opening experience. After that conflict, came back, of which I was on the police department on leave. Started on the police department in 1990 as a police officer. I was an aggressive police officer, and I was quickly promoted to the ranks of detective. I was a narcotics agent first, and then I became a vice agent. Because I had a degree, I was asked to be a school resource officer.
Wow.
And I said wow too,
Yeah.
because my chief didn't give me much of an option. I didn't want to do it. I'm thinking, wow, you're going to put this aggressive police officer in a school setting with high school students? Are you kidding? But I found it to be my most rewarding job. I think it put me on the path of where I am now. Because I learned that our young men and women had ideas, they had thoughts, they had goals, aspirations, and they were really smart.
How was it working with Attorney Larry Chisholm in Savannah?
It was interesting. You have to realize we both came from the district attorney's office.
Yeah.
I was an investigator, he was a prosecutor. We both went to Savannah State University, and then he became the district attorney, and he asked me to come back to be the chief investigator. And it was exciting. I had an opportunity to go in and tweak some of the deficiencies that were in place, and for him to be the first African-American district attorney, and for me to be the first African-American chief investigator, that was pretty exciting.
Okay, all right then. What did he say? Oh, okay. Well, so with Savannah State University, that was a wonderful experience. Now, how was that?
That was, it was pretty interesting. It was exciting. To be in a college setting, initially there were some challenges. And the challenges came from a budgetary standpoint as it relates to policing. And I learned a lot. I learned to do more with less. And you have to do that with HBCUs.
Yeah.
We don't get the funding that a lot of our other sister and brother colleges get from the state side of the house and your larger institutions. So it taught me to maximize my resources and also to get the most out of the staff that we have.
Okay. Now, I know that you are an instructor, well, you was an adjunct instructor at Columbia. Now, how was that, being another instructor, you know, but this time being around college students instead of high school students?
Well, I love it. I love it because I was able to teach what I've been doing for 20 plus years. Initially, I was nervous, you know, how would the students receive me? Would I actually have the practical experience to put with the text? And I found that I really do enjoy it, to the point to where that's what I'm going to do when I retire, is just teach full time. Maybe I'll go back and get my PhD, who knows? Okay,
okay. So do you think you would probably like to teach here at Clark Atlanta or Tuskegee, or?
Yes, Clark Atlanta would be a nice place to teach in criminal justice. I have to research the policy. I don't know if I would be allowed to teach, and I hadn't researched it at this time. But if it's something that I could do, I would really get a kick out of it.
Okay, all right. Now, Clark Atlanta University, as most urban universities and colleges, they face the challenge of keeping its community safe within a campus that has no fences, and many of the entrances and exits aren't always manned or secured. Now, will your professional, you know, master sergeant skills, do you think they could help us a little bit with the security around here?
Well, I'm not going to say it will take away from it. But it doesn't have a direct bearing. I think maybe some of my other large event experience, like G8 and the Olympics, is more suited to help with the challenges we face with having a campus without fencing. And again, that goes back to the different strategies that we have to deploy. Aggressive patrol, making sure that our emergency apparatus devices are working. And this is something that I must put out, access control. And when you're talking about access control, you're talking about your swipe access to negotiate your residential facilities. We have to ensure that we're not propping doors open, and we have to ensure that those devices work, because the last thing we want is for a person to come in and violate or victimize us. So as long as we are aggressive with patrol, have our cameras working effectively, and ensure that our access control devices are working, I think we'll be in a pretty good position. In a pretty good position,
okay. Well, Chief Trawick, I thank you so much for joining us today, and once again, welcome to the Clark Atlanta University family, and welcome to Atlanta, Georgia. To contact CAU Public Safety Department, please call 404-880-8911 for emergencies and 404-880-8623 for non-emergencies. Information about campus safety and security can also be found on our website at www.cau.edu. Thank you once again for tuning in and watching Potpourri. I'm Chasity Evans.